Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you've been well. So this is kind of I think it's the 6-month update actually. I think I skipped the 5-month because if you watch all my videos, you'll know, had a baby a month ago. Cooper, he's doing well. And so is Ashley. And so it's been crazy. Sleep deprived. If I look tired, it's because I am. Been working tons. This is a weekend, actually, I'm out here, so I was getting some last minute stuff done. This weekend, before the drywallers come and start putting drywall, there's a few things that are gonna get closed up that I had to finish off real quick. And actually, I gotta finish off a little bit more after this video. But this is the update. And I actually I filmed the rest of this video a week or two back, so what you're seeing now is a little bit different. Like I have all of the rock wool on the interior walls, but I'm gonna do a separate video. There's so much I wanna talk about. I'm gonna kind of break the 6-month update into 2 videos. This one you're gonna watch, and then the follow-up one, which I'm gonna be talking about insulation and some other stuff. So this is the first of those videos. And I also wanna talk about other stuff maybe. I don't know, like I nerd out on tools and stuff. I have had a lot of tools, but I bought some other stuff kind of for the job, like this little Milwaukee speaker. I've actually been building a box, like a box to kind of keep all my things in. Bought some of these little guys that I attached to this Plano. I don't know. I like tools. So if you want to see a video, just me talking about tools and gear and whatnot that I've used to build my house. I'm a gear channel. I talk about a lot of EDC gear and truck gear and whatever. So I don't know, seems like a natural thing to talk about. House building gear. But the home, oh, it's coming together so nicely. It's good. It's stressful. It's a lot of work. But things are really taking shape. And as soon as this drywall's in, the next video you're gonna see, I'm gonna be talking about all this rock wool. But then the next one, it'll be all drywalled. And then we'll start all the finish work, which is really what I like more. I've done a lot on the house. I haven't done all, like I didn't do the roofing, and I didn't do the HVAC, and I didn't do the plumbing, but pretty much everything else we've done. And there's certain aspects I enjoy more than others. I really like framing, but I like a lot of the finish work. I like watching the final pieces of the home come together. And that's basically what's happening this next month or so. We got to do the deck. So we're building the deck this next week, finishing off all the exterior. So the next video you'll see, maybe we'll have the deck done. Maybe we'll have all of the exterior done. We'll have all the drywall hung, and I don't know, maybe start on cabinets and floors. So that's kind of what's going on in this next month to kind of, I don't know, give you a little bit of advanced notice. But I'd love to hear, as always, I say this in a lot of videos, but I'd love to hear what you'd like to see so I can try and film it maybe. Man, it is so windy out. I'm watching you. You won't really be able to see, but I'm watching just wind whip across my front yard and noticing that I don't hear anything in the house. No creaks, no cracks, no rattles. That's sweet. Anyway, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video. I actually dressed in green to match them. I'm just kidding. I didn't actually intentionally match them, but AG1 by Athletic Greens. They've sponsored a few videos on the channel. Huge thank you to them. You guys should love companies that, this is an aside, this is separate, this has nothing to do with AG1. But you guys should appreciate companies that decide to spend marketing money advertising on your favorite YouTube channels or your favorite podcasts or whatever. I always love seeing that, because if it's a YouTube channel that I really like and a brand is supporting them and spending marketing dollars with them, I love that, rather than putting it in some magazine or at a sports stadium or something like that. Anyway, that's an aside. AG1 by Athletic Greens. I'll make some here in a little bit. It's still been part of my kind of daily ritual, and I've been taking that at home now. I'm kind of on a schedule of taking my stepdaughter. I have a stepdaughter, if you guys didn't know. I take her to school now that Ashley is kind of on baby duty, and so I'm in like a very regimented routine where I just take this at home now in the morning. But if I'm in a rush or whatever, they do have the little individual ones, and I just have several of those in my little bag, my little work bag, and so that way when I get here I can take it if I forget. So AG1, if you don't know, it's a nutritional drink comprised of 75 high quality whole food sources packed with vitamins and minerals and immunity support and probiotics and prebiotics, and it kind of helps with clarity and focus and energy and everything good. And you guys probably are sick of hearing it by now. I've just been overworking myself. So I'm trying to stay focused, I'm trying to stay healthy, I'm trying to not get sick, trying to make sure my digestion's good, all that stuff. AG1 kind of handles all of that for me, so it's a no-brainer. I don't have to take other supplements or vitamins or whatever. I just drink it and I'm like, all right, well, check that box off the list for the day. And then it's just easy to do. I'll use this drywall, all this thousands of pounds of drywall as a table. You get your pouch here, you get whatever bottle you want. They have, this is the AG1 one with little markers. I usually do 8 ounces of water. This lighting's kind of artsy. You guys probably didn't know that I was such an artsy guy here. So in there, shake it around, and I learned my lesson. You guys don't like the gulping sounds on the video, so. And that's it. Just chug it down, and then you got your daily dose of health for the day, honestly. Kind of, I don't know, wheatgrassy. It does, I've said this in other videos, but it's got kind of like undertones of bubblicious bubblegum flavor to it, but kind of like also with wheatgrass, you know. It's very earthy. I feel good, it's great. I appreciate AG1 by Athletic Greens for sponsoring this video again. If you want to try some out, I got a link, athleticgreens.com/LLOD. Go there and check it out. And I believe through that link, you get some free samples, some other like vitamin drop supplements, and then some individual ones that I showed earlier. So yeah, check it out. Okay, here we are in the home, rock wooled everywhere. It's so quiet. I feel like I'm in one of those isolation chambers. Listen. Yeah, there's nothing. I haven't filmed the intro yet. While I'm filming this, I don't know what I'm gonna say in the intro, but I wanted to take this opportunity. I just swung by the house real quick. It's a weekend. There's nobody in the house. So I figured it'd be a good opportunity to come and kind of do a full walkthrough. I'm not really a YouTuber. I feel weird filming myself, and I don't want to make other people uncomfortable when I'm filming. So I usually just don't film the house when there's other people here. So a lot of people are like, film this. I don't know. I'm just building a house, not really filming. And then like on the weekends or whatever, I come and I film. So I'm sorry it hasn't been more of an interactive build journey, but hopefully you still like these videos about the build, even though you're not watching me build it. So in this last month since the last video, I got natural gas connection from the main line. So we trenched 500 feet for that. I got electrical connection to the grid. That was 600 feet that I had to trench myself. Actually, my brother-in-law Luke trenched that for me. And then we laid the conduit. 3-inch conduit is expensive, let me tell you. So we did that, and then the electrical company came and ran the wire through, set us up a transformer and a pedestal, and now we have service. That cost me probably $25,000 to get electric hooked up to the house. I've had a lot of people ask me about the budget and everything. I'll probably do that at the end when I have a better grasp of kind of final costs for everything. I have a pretty good idea, but I'll probably just save it for the end. But we got electric hooked up, we got gas hooked up, got inspected, ran the underground line into the home. I have 400 amp electrical service in the house, which basically comes in to two 200 amp breakers. I'll show you all this, but I'm just kind of catching you up to speed. Natural gas hookup as well, so I don't have to worry about propane tanks or anything. So I kind of have 2 power sources. So I have like a gas fireplace and a gas furnace in here. Got that all inspected, pressure tested, gas line's good. I actually have the furnace hooked up in here. Let's show you real quick. So with all this insulation in, which I'll talk about a little bit in this video, but probably I'll do like a separate video because I'm gonna try and cram too many things into this video. We are 39 degrees outside, not super cold, but this is kind of middle of the day now, and 71.4 degrees inside. I do have the furnace set, but it's only set to 50. So what that means is the insulation and the windows are doing their trick. And I don't know when the last time the furnace is run was, but it's over 70 degrees in this house in February in the mountains of Colorado. And that means the house is getting heated by all these southern exposure windows, which was my goal. And all that heat is staying contained with all this insulation. Cool. So this video, probably I'm gonna largely talk about framing, little details I worked in, kind of an overall update of the house, electrical, plumbing, mechanical, and then I think that's all I want to fit into this video. And I may make a separate video where I talk about insulation. This is all rock wool insulation and spray foam. So you can see they didn't quite finish all the rock wool in here, but we got spray foam, closed cell spray foam, whole house. Every wall has about 2 inches of spray foam. Ceiling, rim joists and stuff have about 3 inches. And then in the ceiling, I have 2 layers of this, which is R38. R38 rock wool, mineral wool, kind of the best stuff you can get. I don't know if you can see in here, but it's 2 layers thick. That's wrapped down into there. And then we have R15 in the walls with the spray foam. So that puts us at a roughly a little over an R30 wall assembly and almost an R100 ceiling assembly. I think it comes out to like an R97 ceiling assembly. The walls, I also have zip R sheathing, which means a little bit of exterior insulation that's continuous with no thermal breaks, and then spray foam, seal it all up, add insulation, and then rock wool for all of the fireproofing, sound deadening, and insulatory properties. So really happy with my insulation setup. So that's kind of all I'll talk about in this video, but rock wool, I did kind of partner with them on this build. One of the guys over there actually watches the channel, and I was like, hey, sweet, what are you using for insulation? So I was like, well, I was thinking about rock wool, honestly, because I've seen so many good positive things about it. And it's one of the things I kind of wanted to do was spend a lot of money on the structure, the bones of the house. So the bones are real good. And the, I don't know, insulation, is that bones? Maybe that's interior organs. But so we worked together to kind of devise a plan for the house. But we'll talk more on that later. So yeah, then myself and Jim and Skylar, we did all the electrical. I paid an electrician to basically run from the pedestal into the house. That was the main thing. I was like, I don't really know what breakers to get and all of that and how the ground burial and whatever. So had an electrician do that, but we wired up the whole house and we're gonna wire up all the panels. So that was kind of a process, and I feel bad because we did so much electrical work that's all covered up by insulation now. But basically I'm doing 20 amp, so yellow 12-2 Romex on every outlet. So every outlet in the house will be on a 20 amp circuit. I put a bunch of 20 amp circuits in. So we're not gonna be tripping any breakers. Every bathroom's on its own circuit. There's some weird NEC regulations around that where you can put the whole house, every bathroom on one circuit or whatever. Anyway, every bathroom, actually multiple circuits in some of the bathrooms. This is the master bathroom. And then I did a thing where basically we made a little jig. So every horizontal is passed through at exactly, I forget, it's like 24 inches or something. And then all of the higher outlets, like the light switches, I'm trying to find something here. Here we go. All of the higher ones, we made another jig. So these are all at whatever, I forget, 50 some inches. So I have those measurements. And then when I go to hang anything or do whatever, I know pretty much that all of my wires I don't have to worry about. Just don't drill in at this height or this lower height. And I try to kind of run all the wires like that. And then I also just laid out the circuits in a way that made sense to me. So if something does trip, I know what circuits it's on, and I'll label that really well in the main panel. I also want to do a whole solar array setup and a whole house battery backup and probably a whole house generator backup. So I kind of have both of those things just in case. So that's kind of all future stuff, but I'm setting things up in a way that kind of makes sense to do that in the future. Even though I don't have it yet, I will. And then in addition to all of the wiring, so basically all of the lights are all on 15 amp circuits. All of the outlets are on 20 amp circuits, and I put a bunch of exterior outlets around the house. I want outlets everywhere that makes sense. And then I ran Cat 6 to a lot of places that I think I'll use it. Like this is the master bedroom. I'll probably put a TV up there. This is the master bedroom closet. I ran some Cat 6. Up here, a lot of it is shielded Cat 6A, and some of it is just Cat 6 that I'm gonna be using for PoE security cameras. So I ran Cat 6 to some of the corners. There's some kind of dangling that I gotta punch out once I figure out exactly where I wanna put that. So I went through, I think about 300 yards of Cat 6, running it all around the house. I'm gonna have a little office nook here. So we got like triple Cat 6 here. I don't know what I wanna put in there. Just laid out everything that made sense as far as light switches and where they're gonna go and what they're gonna control and what I want on throughways and what I don't, where I wanna put can lights, where I might wanna put ceiling fans. My mom actually had a really good idea. I was just gonna put like a kind of pendant light chandelier type thing here over the staircase. It's gonna be like an open monostringer staircase here. And my mom was like, oh, you should maybe put a fan there so that way you can get air. That's the main thing that I want to do, is get air between the levels. Because this room, this level is going to get all the sun, and downstairs doesn't really get the sun heat. So I want to move this air downstairs, and I've done that through some kind of somewhat clever placement of the returns for the forced air system. I worked with the HVAC guys to kind of tell them what I wanted, where I wanted things to go. So we kind of laid that out, just with little things too. Talked about, you know, where they had laid some stuff out. I actually wanted to put some furniture there or whatever. They had this somewhere else, and I was like, hey, let's put it there because I'm gonna put towel racks here. So that'll dry the towels off really nicely. So I kind of customize the HVAC register and return layout a little bit to kind of work in my favor, so that'll be able to tumble the air around the house. But basically a fan here may be able to shoot a lot of air down here. Another reason I put a big open staircase was I do want to put a big wood burning stove down there later, kind of after I get through permitting and everything. In the meantime though, I do have this gas fireplace. This is a 60-inch wide gas fireplace that, you know, kind of for ambiance, but also for heat. It's a 50,000 BTU unit. So we installed that, sent that up through the roof. This is internal high temp silicone, but we also taped it on the outside. It's a double wall going up. I had to cut some holes in the roof and put boots up in there for some plumbing vents and stuff. I didn't love doing that, but I did a lot of research to kind of figure out how to do it right. All right, so let's try to stay on track. So power, we got range. I got a bunch of dedicateds in the kitchen. Kitchen, you actually need a lot of power. You need a dedicated, I'm gonna have a built-in microwave here. You need a dedicated circuit for that. You need a dedicated circuit for the refrigerator, which is gonna go there. I have another dedicated kind of circuit and a half in the pantry room. This is where I'll run a lot of like small appliances, coffee makers and stuff. Basically, dedicated circuit on that wall, dedicated circuit on that wall, dedicated circuit that's going in the island as well. We're gonna put some windowsill outlets in here, and then a dedicated circuit for dishwasher, dedicated circuit for garbage disposal, all kinds of dedicated circuits going on. Here we have the range going out. Decided last minute to kind of put a pot filler in here. And then I do have some exterior, what was I saying? I'm not gonna get distracted. I'll get to plumbing later. But yeah, a lot of outlets. I put in a bunch of soffit lighting. It's not in, we gotta cut them in. We actually put the soffit lighting, we cut some in on the deck here. So I have a couple fans on the deck and some soffit lighting on the deck as well. And then I'm gonna have some sconce, basically, some kind of motion sensor sconce lights that are gonna be hardwired. This isn't really electrical, it's more HVAC, I guess, but I put in one of the inset things for the dryer vent, inset water things there. Those aren't anything too special or fancy. We had to make a little kind of raceway for a bunch of wires and some plumbing stuff to send a sink out here that I haven't put in yet. We're kind of running all these on this side of the wall, so I just put them here so they didn't get completely buried. Yeah, I said I'm not gonna get too into plumbing, but basically put outlets everywhere. Maybe I'll want a little boot warmer or something down there. And then I have a bunch of exterior outlets as well. So that's like this one out here, which I'll actually probably pull off, and that's not wired up yet. And then got another exterior like up there. We put some in the soffit in case I want to put heat wires, Christmas lights, things like that. When framing, I kind of framed out an area that I'm gonna put a doggy door in the future, and do have a doggy door in that door going out to the back. So basically 2 sides of the house. I want to have doggy door to go in the front yard, doggy door to go into the backyard. And then we got garage doors in also. I'll show you them. These are insulated garage doors. I didn't do anything too crazy on them, but they look pretty cool, I think, from the outside. Whether they'll fit the aesthetic, I don't know. I was the designer of the house in every aspect of it. If you're new here, design the whole house and building it. We real quick put 5/8 type X. This is kind of the fire barrier between the garage and the house. We put that up because they're spray foaming everything. So you have a fully spray foam sealed off. This side of the wall is all spray foamed back there. So the garage is very nicely sealed off from the rest of the house. And then out here in the garage, I have, I think, 3 dedicated, 3.5. So this, I have some ceiling outlets that kind of go down to that walls on one 20 amp circuit. Some of these are on another 20 amp circuit, then another 20 amp circuit for a few along this wall. I think this is where I'll kind of have a workbench area back here. So I tossed like 6 outlets on this wall, some exterior outlets, and then for some future, I ran a 50 amp circuit and a 30 amp circuit out here so we can put, you know, heaters or electrical car chargers or whatever in here. It's kind of future stuff, future proofing a little bit, even though I don't have a specific use, but we could, you know, plug welders or whatever into this. I am planning to make a separate garage shop type thing, so I'm not really planning to do a ton of work in this garage, but figured I might as well wire it up to do a little bit of work. I'm gonna put a heater out here. This is all unconditioned space, but ran a natural gas line out here for a natural gas heater kind of in this corner where I'm gonna be kind of my work corner, and, you know, naturally put an outlet here. Put outlets everywhere. This is the time to put outlets everywhere. So lots of lighting I put in the garage. I don't know exactly what I'll do for lighting. Put an outlet right here for a drop-down power source, and then obviously the standard boxes for the garage door openers. One other thing I'm doing out here is putting a sink with a hot and cold water, like garden hose spigot attachment. So that will be on this wall. I don't think the garage will freeze really, especially because I'll have a heater out here I could kick on, and it's gonna be so insulated. This is actually not gonna be spray foam, but it's gonna have 2 R38s in the ceiling and probably a R20 or so in the wall. I did do zip R sheathing for the garage as well. So we got insulated sheeting on the exterior. So I think the garage would be pretty nice and not freeze, but in addition to the hot and cold water spigot here, I ran a separate plumbing line, just a single PEX. This is covered up because I didn't want it to get spray foamed in there, so I'll peel that out later. But I ran this line up over to the corner of the garage, and that's gonna just be a line that I can hook into the hot and cold water thing over there, but run to a garden hose that I'll mount over here that'll kind of service the driveway for washing cars or whatever. And I wanted to do its own separate line. It's not gonna be a normally pressurized line, it's just gonna be its own thing. So that way I can drain it out fully in the winter and don't have to worry about this freezing in an unconditioned space, but I can hook it up whenever. So this is basically just like a hose in essence, a hose connecting to where my spigot will be over there that I can drain out. But rather than just having to run a hose through the garage from there, I have it there, but not having to worry about it freezing. Then I did also run 6 Cat 6 lines to the furthest corner of the house up here. So I'll be able to put another access point. I don't know what I'm doing as far as a Wi-Fi mesh system or a bunch of access points or whatever. I'll just look into probably the best hardwired mesh system and then some security camera Cat 6 runs. But I basically have Cat 6 running everywhere in this house. And then we got some here for cameras or whatever. I did actually run a doorbell wire down and out here as well. So to power the Ring camera, doorbell, or whatever. And then this is actually, I got all my flooring delivered. So it's just chilling out here. And then here's my garage doors. Pretty cool looking. Still have to finish some of the trim up out here. And then for those that maybe didn't hear it on a previous video or whatever, this is all hardy siding, so cement board siding, basically fireproof. Gonna do a little tongue and groove. All of the hardy is gonna get painted. So this is just the natural hardy color. Right now, we added a little bit more tongue and groove to a couple spots that are getting kind of tongue and groove accent areas. Also bought a tractor, Kubota L3902. More on that maybe in a future video. So I'm trying to think of anything else special I might have done. I did run outlets to all the toilets in case, you know, I want to put heated bidets or something in the toilet. So every toilet has an outlet close by, and I did put kind of extra outlets, more than usual, in bathrooms just because, again, now's the time to add the outlets. We have a few floor outlets. This is technically, this is a sliding panel, that's a sliding panel, and this is just considered a wall by code standards. So put a floor outlet in to kind of check that box for that. I did put some power up high where I'm gonna have probably motorized curtains. So kind of, I put one up here, I put one up here. I can't really tell it, the exposure. Oh yeah, I changed the exposure when we went outside. But yeah, an outlet up in that corner, and then we got a bunch of smoke detectors. I added a little more smoke detectors than I was required to by code, basically one per level outside of the bedrooms, carbon monoxide. This is all inspected, everything's to code, so if you have any issues, you could take it up with the inspectors. But I kid you not, it's a pretty good feeling since I've never built a house before, honestly. Just lots of research, lots of YouTube University. But every inspector that's come to the house is always so complimentary of the, like, this house is so above and beyond like what needs to be done. I love to see it. So a lot of keyboard commandos out there, but I've gotten compliments on every aspect of the house build, which is not like, oh, you're gonna pat me on the back, but just it's good to know we did things right. Like we passed the rough electrical, and that's like what I did, what my team did, not electricians, first time. And he's like, oh, this is great. So good feeling. And then some other future-proofing stuff. I basically ran, this is called Smurf tubing, conduit. This goes down into my mechanical room, which is kind of gonna be my AV room. I might have a little server rack down there or whatever. And this is coming up into, this will be hidden behind, this will be hidden in a cabinet. So I have a cabinet in there that has obviously Cat 6 running to it, and then conduit, so I can run conduit to whatever receivers I might want to put in here. I'll have a TV mounted up here, so I also have conduit run to here, and power obviously to that, and then have some hidden power that will be kind of inside this chase in case I want to put some powered fans in there to suck all of that heat that kind of builds up in that area out. And then lots of just outlets everywhere. So these will be kind of built-in cabinets with shelves above it, and on the shelves, you know, I have more power there. So power everywhere. That's the theme. And then before we go into the basement, we do have, obviously, again, power everywhere. This is something that's really cool. These are called Aquor. I don't know how to pronounce it. Aquors. These are the fanciest and sweetest looking exterior hose spigots, basically. They call them hydrants. So this has a special attachment. I'll talk more on this later, but these are black, beautiful black. They have a little cover on them that I'm just gonna leave on till after paint. But these will flip down, has an attachment that hooks into your garden hose, and when you undo it, it drains out and basically frost proofs it. So I have 4 exterior house spigots around the house in addition to the garage one that are, I don't know, kind of strategically placed where I would want to use them. So we laid that out, cut holes into, so this is like a 12-inch one, so it comes into a wall. That's best for frost proofing when you can. So these, awesome. Again, I'll talk more on them maybe in the next video where I'm kind of breaking things out a little bit, but those, and then obviously, like I said, power everywhere. Who knows where I'll need to plug in my Traeger. And then some more power out here in case I need to power heat tape or whatever. And then I also hooked up my Starlink satellite, north facing, not really anything in the way. Those trees, I guess, are far enough that they're not obstructions. So perfect spot to put the Starlink. I was gonna put it on this wall, but then I was like, from the deck, it's kind of nice to check on it. I don't know, kind of a nerd. So you don't really, you don't normally really see that from the deck or even from the inside, but with a quick walk, I can go and check it out. Sorry, kind of a mess on the deck here. We're putting up the tongue and groove above this door, and we had to move a bunch of stuff out of the house so they could spray foam everything in here. And just absolutely loving this space. It really, I had a vision in my mind, and it doesn't look a whole lot different from the last video probably, but having all the natural light come in, feeling the warmth of all of it, and just kind of having the views out here, it's, I don't know, it's a nice little feeling. The other thing that I was required to, by the fire department, required to do was add fire sprinklers. So this is $20,000 that I didn't really want to spend, but I was required to due to the zone I live in. The fire chief or fire marshal or whoever has basically the power to just say, yes, this new house needs it, that other new house doesn't need it. And so I was presented with 2 options. One, install a 30,000 gallon underground 24/7 accessible, fire department can come and use it whenever they want for whatever they want. And I pay for that whole thing, which would have costed about $100,000, or install fire sprinklers in my house. I didn't want to do it. You know, I think these have come a long way. They're minimal, flush mounted, just little rings. You won't really see that. They don't hang down like in a commercial building or anything, but I know these things have had issues with leaking in the past. I am assured that they no longer do it, but I still don't really like it. But yeah, $20,000 line item to have fire sprinklers installed in my house. But you know, I guess it gives me a little extra peace of mind or whatever to know that, well, if the hardy siding and the Class A deck and the rock wool fireproof insulation and every other step I've taken wasn't enough, hey, got fire sprinklers as well. So let's go down into the basement. So here you can see the spray foamed walls. These studs are not, they're non-load bearing walls. They're off from the concrete foundation wall, which is behind this. So they spray foamed this. In addition, I have 4 inches of exterior rigid foam. So this is super insulated down here. Also have insulation under the slab to kind of catch everyone up. Insulation under the slab. And then a full zoned PEX underfloor future heating system. I do have a whole forced air furnace that has the whole thing. Ignore this flex gas line that's just kind of temped up so we could run the furnace off of this. But yeah, the furnace is in this mechanical room. I will put a whole hydronic radiant heating system in here. I'll also have a hot water tank in here. I talked about it in a previous video, but basically I have 2 hot water tanks. My house is kind of long and narrow. So this, I'll probably do an inline gas hot water heater here. This is gonna run these bathrooms basically on this side of the house. I have them connected with a PEX line from one water heater to the other, where I'll basically be able to close a valve, open a valve, and have the whole house run off of either that one or that one, depending on power outages or whatever. In this room, I'll put an electric hot water heater, maybe a heat pump one, in the second mechanical room, and that'll power basically this whole kitchen, washing machine, bathrooms on this side of the house. So I have 2 hot water heaters, and then I may have a third to essentially act as a boiler for the hydronic radiant heating system. Then some future proofing that I did was, this is basically one mechanical room, that's another mechanical room, kind of I wanted to split them on both sides of the house. That mechanical room has easy access to the exterior, so if I need to run future hookups, exterior conduit or whatever, I'll walk down there. That's where my 2 electrical panels are as well. It's there, but I ran a conduit. I have a few conduits running into this room here, one going all the way to the other mechanical, so if I need to fish some type of line or whatever through there, I can. One of these goes up to the kind of the entertainment center up there. This one actually goes to where I'll potentially mount a ceiling mounted projector, but who knows what the future will hold. So I kind of have that pre-out and then one up here in case in the future, you know, television technology takes off and I'll want, this will be behind a projector screen normally, but maybe that will be used. And then if I want to add stuff to this box, I can just punch through right into this mechanical room over here. And then I have a bunch of speaker wire wired up, whether that will be like a Dolby Atmos, like 5.1.2 or whatever. I am not sure yet. This room isn't a perfect home theater because there's no wall really over here. So you're kind of watching from here. And I was gonna do this thing where I had like speakers drop, but I was like, no, it's kind of crazy overkill. So they're basically all in ceiling speakers. So that'll all hook up, projection screen right there. And this will kind of be a movie theater type deal. Maybe I'll have a curtain that comes across over here. That's where the wood burning stove will go. My AC is gonna be out on that corner, so we ran wire for a little mini panel out there. Out here, probably put a hot tub, so we actually gotta put a box in. This is all under cover, but a little, 50 amp spa box in over there. And then here's my big mess of wires. Sorry, I just put a random ugly color temperature bulb in here. So this is gonna be a nightmare of a task where basically all these are all labeled home runs. The home run means that this one wire goes out to, say, a single outlet, and that's the home run, and from that outlet goes to whatever other 10 outlets on the circuit or whatever it may be. So those are all coming in here, and I have two panels, two 200 amp 40 slot panels here. That's the 400 amp service, and from here I basically need to decide what panel, what layout it's gonna be, where it's gonna go, how to kind of balance the load between the two. That I'm still kind of thinking about. And then I left room over here to add more stuff. Whether I need my solar setup or my inverter, my backup, my batteries or whatever, that's kind of gonna go in this room. Here's a giant tank for my fire sprinkler system, yay. And then other water stuff will go over there. And then up in this corner, I actually ran two more PEX lines, 3/4 inch PEX lines through this soffit. And those are kind of for potential future. I was like, well, I have it all opened up now. I'm gonna just run the conduit between my two mechanical rooms, and then I'm gonna run some PEX line for supplies and returns in case I wanna just put some big boiler in somewhere that runs everything or whatever, I don't know. So I did some kind of future proofing of some things by running these PEX lines that I may just never use. Maybe I'll just do a little inline electric hot water heater for these, but kind of some future proofing stuff. And I've ran a couple other conduits to various locations. You'll see some duct work. I don't really want to show much of it, but I added some stuff that, well, I'll just tell you what it does basically. So in addition to all of the normal duct work that my HVAC guys put in for my furnace system, I put in a little bit of my own duct work, like this one. So this one, I'm planning to put a future wood burning stove in here. And so this duct actually goes to a 6-inch inline fan out to my master bedroom. The floor plan's kind of the same. So basically the thought is to pull air from, the main floor whoosh, down and push that air to the stove. And, that'll create essentially a negative pressure zone, and the heat will rise up, go down the hallway, up there, back into the room. So that'll help basically move heat from this fireplace up and push it down that hallway through the use of ducting and an inline fan. So I added some of this stuff that I thought I might use. I'm gonna do a little bit more basically that's gonna be able to push air directly from down here, up there, or up there, down here, depending on my heating and cooling requirements in the house. The basement's gonna be cooler, typically, but if, for instance, I don't wanna run the furnace, I just wanna run the radiant heat system on a really cold, cloudy day, the basement may be warmer than the upstairs. So I want the ability to directly circulate air from here between levels without having to run the furnace system, with just being able to run a few 6-inch or 4-inch inline fans. So that's kind of the theory behind that. Whether it will work in practice or not, I don't know. If it doesn't, I just have kind of a few open ducts that I just don't end up using and could drywall in later or something if I want to. So again, down here, another hose spigot that's coming into an interior wall. Pretty standard stuff, but this is just basically when you turn the spigot off, winterize it, water drains out all the way back to here, so it's kind of inside of a wall. And this room is gonna kind of be my office, so I did a couple of circuits in here and then a couple different Cat 6 runs to various places. I'll have printers or whatnot, computers down in this little area. And then this is where all of this comes into play. So I have it coming down into this mechanical room where maybe I'll put a server rack or whatever. So this is gonna house security cameras and all of my network stuff. So basically I'll have my router in here split up into a switch or into different things. These are all labeled, and that is just gonna be a pain in my butt in some future date. Real quick, the back lower level of the house, the north side of the house, which doesn't really get any sun in the winter, is a disaster. It's like an ice skating rink back here, because if you think about, my roof is a single slope, like shed roof, so it's higher on the south side of the house to let in more light, and then it's lower. So most of the gutters, except for on the garage portion, are on the back of the house. So that means right now, I don't have any of my downspouts on because, well, I should probably put them on, but I didn't want the gutters to just freeze and burst and expand. So right now all the water is just leaking down here. You can kind of see we got one downspout dripping down from there, making this ice wall. I put a little piece of zip up to kind of keep it off the pole some. But we got all this ice, we got all this ice, we got all this stuff that'll never freeze. So eventually the plan is to run heat tape in the gutters and the downspouts, take that stuff down underground, heat taped also, and then just dump it out the back of this, so that way I won't have basically an ice rink in my backyard, because now it's pretty treacherous and makes this whole area unusable, because this is just where all the ice is building up until I can divert that elsewhere. So eventually gutters, underground, heat tape, water, drain out the back of the hill, and then that'll eventually just kind of melt off later. And then this whole area is kind of a nice flat backyard type area, but since it's north facing, it'll just be in the shade for a lot of the year. I kind of want to do turf. I've never done turf, but just kind of turf, place to, play horseshoes, hang out, whatever back here. But right now it's an ice skating rink. If I built the edges up and got rid of the snow, we could have some hockey games back here. Take me back to my childhood. And then, so if you guys care about the ductwork at all, we basically have two big trunks that go down for the supplies and returns. So I had to soff it out. I talked about this in a previous episode. I thought I'd be able to tuck this all up into these trusses. I had a few kind of squares up there. I did not communicate. So quick PSA, if you're designing your own home, make sure early on you're working with the ductwork design, HVAC team, your manual JDS, and your truss designers. If you want to put that all in, you got to get it in way earlier. I couldn't get it in now, and I didn't even have enough room there for everything that I needed. So I had to soffit this down. These are still just over 9-foot ceilings down here. And even where the soffit is, it's still gonna be over 8 feet tall. So it's not like, I designed the basement to feel kind of tall. So it's not like end of the world, but this is basically gonna be stepped down into a soffit. We use the soffit as an opportunity to run a bunch of stuff in it, but I would have preferred not to have this soffit. So anyone building or designing their own home that's gonna use open web trusses and you wanna utilize that space for ductwork, obviously you see a lot of the space is utilized for ductwork. All of the registers are being fed through there, so I only have the main trunk lines in a soffit. But plan ahead earlier in the process, and you'll be able to tuck that all the way up into the open web trusses. But all coming into here. This is, I don't know much. I had a HVAC team just install this. Wow, it looks like there's a little dent. It doesn't feel like a dent though. Anyway, this is a Goodman. I don't have any association with them, but it's a 120,000 BTU system. I don't have dual anything. This is just one, so I'll just have one thermostat. And if I had more money, I might have done two, you know, one for the lower level, one for the upper level, but that costs a lot more ductwork. And for me, I was like, well, I do have the radiant floor heating, so I kind of have that on the downstairs floor. So I have I have a bunch of ways to heat the home, so I wasn't too worried about it. Then I'll talk more in the insulation video, but I have a bunch of this product, Safe and Sound by Rockwool, upside down. I guess I could show you it down here. I framed the whole basement 24-inch on center. There's not really a reason. The rest of the house is 16 on center, but down here, none of the interior walls are load-bearing walls. All of the load-bearing walls happen on the exterior of the house, which means that the trusses can span the whole way. So the interior walls are just kind of room dividers, so you can kind of do whatever with them, but not to say you can make a structural wall 24-inch on center as well. I don't really know why I got into that little spiel, but all 24-inch on center down here because I figured you'd be able to pack more soundproofing insulation. So this is Safe and Sound. Basically, Safe and Sound, the idea is it's a very good, it's not flammable, helps like basically fire stop and soundproof. So I didn't want a bunch of sound passing through into the rooms. It's the worst thing. So all of the interior walls are gonna get packed with the Safe and Sound Rockwool product. And then I'm putting can lights in almost every room and fans in a lot of rooms, and basically just marked the floor for the can lights. The can lights will get cut in after. They're the little wafer kind. So you just cut them in, put the box in, do that. Those are all good, you know, UL listed and all that stuff. But basically, we drop down the wire everywhere. That wire is gonna get covered with drywall, and then we're gonna go through, pop a laser straight up from these perfectly laid out and marked can locations on the floors. So we got them kind of all through the house. Everywhere you see that correlates to a wire. That is a smoke detector box. But that was kind of a journey laying out all those, especially in the bigger spaces like this, but we got it done. X's everywhere, and then other stuff I put on the ground. S, this is where my speakers are. S, things like that. But it's been something else, all this work. But it's been good. Now we get to hang out, look at views of the dumpster, and life is good, right? So the exciting part is the framing inspection. I wasn't worried about it. Like, we did everything right, but I was just like, we're gonna fail it. So I called it almost to just say, all right, tell us the things we gotta fix so we can get on them and fix them. And then we passed that first time too. And he went through every truss design, make sure we got all the rat runs in, every little trimmer and king stud had to be in, checked every single bolt on the floor plates, like everything. He tried hard. We're actually kind of friends with him now. I should give I don't know. Again, this is the first house I've built. I've learned a lot, and I feel like I should make a video just kind of telling someone that wants to do what I did, which is be the own general contractor. I'm not a licensed general contractor. Depends on your state. It's different in every state. In Colorado, a homeowner can be the general contractor without being a licensed general contractor. But I have learned a lot. And one of those things is be friends with the inspectors. So we're kind of friends with him, but he hangs out and kind of just hangs out for an hour, talks about life or whatever, vacation, you know, all kinds of stuff. But he still tried desperately to find something wrong with the house and didn't. So that felt good. That felt real good. So yeah, you might have seen this thing. This thing, it's not a structural wall or anything. This, I'm building, I kind of last minute decided to do this. This is actually what I was working on today. That's why there's all these holes cut out. This is a structural steel rod basically that's gone into a 1-inch PVC sleeve. I don't have all of them, so I bought a couple pieces to kind of proof of concept it. This is gonna slide in to here, slide in all the way into here. I didn't have the foresight to build this ahead of time, so I kind of made it work with all of the wiring and boxes. I actually had to move the height of this box to fit perfectly. I sized it to perfectly fit an electrical box right in here in between the two PVC runs, and just worked around everything else in here. This though is gonna be basically a doggy gate. So we're gonna have all those holes filled, all these rods over. This is gonna come all the way out here. That's a 70-inch span, so it's bigger for any kind of conventional dog gate. And I wanted something that kind of looked cool, but just hid away when it wasn't in use. So this whole thing will slide all the way in and be a gate that basically slide in, go across to here. Two reasons for that. One is that's the front door if a bunch of people are coming or kids or whatever, and I don't want our dogs to harass them at the front door. Can close this off. Everyone can come in, take their shoes off. Take your shoes off at my house, Asian here. And then the dogs and whatever can be over there. Also at night at my house right now, you guys love to hear it. I live in the mountains of Colorado, so we got mountain lions and bears and all kinds of stuff. And while my big dog Atreyu, he literally chases bears off. I got videos of it. My little dog could get eaten pretty easy, and even my big dog could get eaten. A mountain lion could easily take out my big dog. So we close them in at night. So at my house right now, I basically have a little baby gate that I close off at night so they don't go out. They have free access to the yard. I have a doggy door. Same with this house. They're gonna have free access to the yard, doggy doors. And like I was talking about earlier, I'll probably put two of them. One there to the front, and then one's already there to the back. So at nighttime, when I don't want them roaming around, I'll just close this gate at night. And then I don't have to worry about them getting out into the yard. So that little custom things like that would have been a huge pain to put in after, these electric boxes would have been in the wrong place. I would have been like hitting wires and stuff in here. So I moved all the stapling of the Romex over, and yeah, got that little system. I ordered the rest of the parts to get it built, and that'll be in eventually. But yeah, man, I am excited to get this garage cleared out of all the stuff. Finally, maybe I'll park, bring the Land Cruisers over and park them in here so they're not just sitting in my yard undercover. And I don't know, it's just good to see a plan come together. There's little things I chose, like this is the south side of the house. I didn't want to do full glass doors because I do like the insulation. So we have some glass. I put those on the south side. So as the sun comes in, it'll come in. So they're the left side of the garage doors. That's the south side. So more sun rather than putting them on the right side of the garage doors. It wouldn't brighten up the garage quite as much. Now I have windows there, and I have a glass door there and windows there, but I like natural light. So seeing a lot of the stuff that I kind of envisioned in my head, this door's not. We just kind of put this door in. We got to seal it there still. But actually seeing what I envisioned in my mind play out in real life, like I was worried. I was like, is this garage going to feel bright enough? Even though I'm not doing, full glass doors or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, actually, it's fantastic. So the build process has been largely successful. I had this idea in my mind that even though I'm not a builder, never built a house, pretty much a noob, I was like, I think we could build this in 6 months. We're coming up on the 6-month mark. You can see we're not done. Bummed about that, hit a few setbacks here and there. I had a baby, and it was just, some things take longer. Some things take longer than was anticipated. So I'm thinking 8 months maybe is kind of the realistic timeline for that. So maybe a little over 2 months from now, be ready to move in. Be ready to move in as long as I can navigate all the red tape. I was talking about this. Where did I talk about this? I talked about this on a Patreon live, but I couldn't just live here right now legally. If I want to just be like, I want to live here while I'm working, legally cannot. There's a thing you need called a certificate of occupancy on a new house. And you can't get that until you get final inspection. You basically have, and it may be different in some places. I'm not a builder, I don't really know. But in Jeffco, where I live, there's building safety. There's kind of like two departments of the county: building safety and planning and zoning. Building safety is who does like a lot of the inspections, but planning and zoning does some inspections as well. I have a own septic in my well, and the grading permits and the driveway access, and actually all the trees I have to cut down for fire mitigation. Those are planning and zoning. So basically I have to check off all these boxes in addition to just inspections, electrical inspections, framing inspection, all that stuff. And you check out a bunch of other boxes. And those boxes are stuff like, I need to get a blower door test. Not that I'm against it, but basically they depressurize the house. They see your air leakage through the house. They see whether the house is built tight enough up to current standards or whatever. I think I'll pass out with flying colors because, again, zip bar sheathing, spray foam, kind of went above and beyond. I don't know if, well, you can't really see it because it's so small, but caulked all the base plates. When I did on the foundation, I did sill seal and then acoustical, but 2 beads of acoustical sealant down there. So this house will be, I think, pretty tight. But there's crap like that. I got to do a blower door test. I got to check the pressure. I got to check my house for air leakage. That's not even part of an inspection. That's something to have a third party test for me and get a little certificate that I passed. I have to do, I think, like a balancing test of my forced air furnace system. I don't even need a forced air system. Like, I don't even need it. It's not even a requirement. I don't need it. But since I have it, now I need to do a third-party testing agency needs to do this test, make sure I'm getting the proper CFMs out of all of my little registers and everything. Whatever, that's good, I guess, but I gotta do that. Then I gotta have another company, a third-party company, come out and make sure I cut down all the trees that they told me I gotta cut down. So basically, rip all the trees off my property in case it burns down, even though I have a fire sprinkler system, even though I have I'm required to have Class A fire rated this, I'm gonna have this infused bamboo decking that costs 10 times as much because it has to be fire rated decking, all this stuff. Just to legally live in the house that I pay taxes on. I got to pay the government to even own this property, pay the government to build the house. I'm going to end up paying, I think, $20,000 in permitting fees. Just $20,000 just to allow them to come out and tell me whether I'm doing things right or not, even though everything also needs to be stamped by licensed engineers and inspected. My engineers that drew up the plans based on my drawings, they needed to come out and check the foundation and all this stuff. So even though the licensed engineers, and it's just, little rant, but it's a big pain. But man, all coming together, super excited. I'm thinking the installation crew, basically how I did it, we built most of the house, Jim and Skylar and myself, and hired some contractors that could basically work while we were working to just give it maximum efficiency. So like while the installation guys were doing their thing, we were working on some exterior stuff, finishing up some siding in some areas, still a little bit to go. While the drywall guys come in and do all the drywall, because I don't want to do drywall, I hate doing drywall. We're gonna do more exterior stuff, put all the decking in and things like that. And then we got this muddy, sloppy mess out here. Drove the Sequoia today. You can see all the mud on that. But my whole front yard is just mud right now, just mud. And it is gross. So it's part of the reason I bought the tractor to both use as a forklift. That little guy actually lifted, we ate into this pile for doing a bunch of the stuff, and I was like, I don't think it can lift that thing. Lifted it right up. But I bought the tractor because I need to do a lot of stuff out in the yard for smoothing whatever and moving dirt. And it also is a forklift. It also kind of do driveway maintenance, all that stuff. But I need to plant some native grass seed in the front yard to try and deal with this mud eventually, but that's gonna wait till spring. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. I'll have a handful more videos of the house build progression again. I think I'll do a separate one on kind of talking about some specific things like the insulation and some of the little other details that I worked into the house that, I don't know, I'm a nerd and I would like to hear about, so maybe you guys would like to hear about it as well. So that'll come in a future video. Drywall's coming. Drywall and then paint, and then the house will really start looking like a house. Put the flooring in, put the cabinets in. Yeah, so that'll be fun. Fun stuff. Appreciate you following along the journey. Yeah, and until next time, guys, take care.